Our tour starts at 15:15, which is 3:15. And we'll get all our equipment ready. We'll load all our personal stuff onto the truck.
This is an Ithaca 37 shotgun that we use. It's standard in all our vehicles. It's a little old, but it does the job, gets the job done. It's a rough gun to shoot. You figure the hands that have touched this weapon, you know, this guy's probably 70, 80 years old today that were, you know, slinging it around a few years back.
I got in April last year and trained for 6 months and got out, was transferred to Truck 2 in November.
You're working with a team. It's a team of 8 guys, that's steady guys. There is a very unique tightness in a unit that deals with our type of work on a daily basis. We're put into situations where my life depends on the guy right next to me.
Quickly, the way we're gonna do it, Sean's gonna go in first. We're gonna set up on Amsterdam Avenue. He's gonna circle to the back. Once he's in the back covering the windows, he's gonna radio for us to move. My car will go in first. He or shoot. Just stay on a slight delay behind us. We'll let you know when we're in front. At that point, you guys start to move in. We'll get our guys up to the roof and to ghost the doors.
All right, the deal is it's a straight work spot for cocaine. There are supposedly lookouts in front of the location with the radio. What happens is the guy will take the coke, he'll dump it in a bucket of water, he'll attempt to spill it, and he'll try to bail out the window. A CI was in the apartment. He observed a firearm. He said it was a revolver. The door is fortified with a 4x4 beam from the floor to the door.
Guys, if something happens in the apartment, if there's any gunfire, let us handle it. If anybody gets hurt, the hospital car will be looking for you guys to get us right out.
Where do they usually dump the bucket?
Right in the apartment. Like when you
Somewhere
know,
in there.
Somewhere in there.
Gotcha.
Try not to knock the bucket over, because the DA says if they dump in the bucket and the water's there, they get charged with the weight. If there's 3 pounds of water, it's 3 pounds of weight.
A lot of times we're called to execute high-profile or high-risk warrants. There's heavy bad guys inside, or there's a propensity for violence. They call in emergency service because we're trained in special weapons and tactics, and we have heavy weapons.
Close the door!
You prepare for the worst. Bad guys in every room, guns coming at you, violent dogs, everything. It's a revolving door in the city, but it's satisfaction that we completed this warrant and nobody got hurt and we got the arrest. We don't say no. They want us to go in there and get that guy with a gun. We're doing it. New York City emergency service cops are cross-trained in anything and everything. We go from being a SWAT team 1 minute, next minute we could be called to a building collapse, trying to rescue people under rubble. The next minute we're all scuba divers looking for a kid that drowned.
This is just north of JFK Airport, looking down on an ice rescue. We have 5 children in the water at this point. A number of emergency units are out here on the ice trying to crawl off right now as the ice continues to break, using any means they can to get the children back on shore. We're watching this scene unfold as we look down.
Emergency services trained in all the rescue work. We do building collapses, we do train wrecks, car crashes, and we also climb the bridges. If somebody's up there, we're trained to perform an act.
We have 41,000 cops in New York City, and out of that army you have 350 people assigned to emergency service, and they're sort of our special forces for the New York City Police Department. You name it, if there's a problem and a cop calls for help, these are the guys that go.
I chose this unit because when I had gotten shot, it was emergency service cops that picked me up and took me to the hospital. The second time I had gotten shot, it was emergency service cops that picked me up, dragged me to the ambulance, and it was emergency service cops that went and got the guy that did this to me. There's really nobody in this unit that doesn't want to be there. It's an elite group of people.
This is my brother Jimmy. This is back when I was a rookie cop, 21 years old, 1994, St. Patrick's Day Parade. Our squad on the rooftop training. We had a snow rescue, a rope rescue in the snow. Some guys from the Bronx came down and helped us out. The late Cardinal O'Connor. Myself with a couple striped bass. I caught out with a bunch of my friends. And inside I keep my girlfriend. I keep her in, real close, so too many guys can't get a good look at it. Keep her out of view.
The camaraderie in Truck 2 itself is very good. We got a bunch of funny guys on the late tour. You know, it's a tight-knit group.
Joe Vidge, very funny, practical joker. He went to get a guy back one time, and he set up a fire extinguisher in the guy's locker. So when you'd pull it, all the CO2 would come out and shoot out all over him. He'd look like a piece of pork chop. Yeah. He worked on it, I swear to God, for about an hour and a half. He couldn't get it right. He went through 3 fire extinguishers trying to figure it out, how to make this thing work.
People have many releases. We break chops. We could be ruthless to each other when we're together hanging out on a little bit of downtime. But the emergency service, it's like almost being married to the guys you work with because they're helping you out and you're helping them out.
I got to tell you, it's very scary as a parent. He's been shot a few times, and each time it just gets harder. And we've talked, especially after the last shooting. I said, you know, how long are you going to do this? You still got, 2 boys. Now we're going to have a 3rd one coming. And he says, Dad, this is my job. I found what I want to do with my life. Here he is, police officer. And I tell you can't be prouder of anybody than I am of him. The job satisfaction doesn't come with a pat on the back or a handshake. It comes from your peers saying, nice job. And occasionally, the city will single you out and give you an award. But most cops, most firemen, they say, whatever I'm getting, it's symbolic of the rest of the guys who aren't here.
Now will Detective Joseph Vigiano of the New York City Police Department Emergency Rescue Squad please come forward?
Joe's my 2nd son. He's very competitive. Started out, I guess, when he got into scouting. While he was in scouting, he even got the honor medal for a water rescue, ironically, when he was 11 years old. We had sent him down to Grandma for the summer in Clearwater Beach. All of a sudden, she looked up and she sees Joe swimming out to, I believe it was a Cuban family, caught on a sandbar, and they couldn't get back. He doesn't speak Spanish, but he just had his merit badge in swimming, so he pushed a raft out there, and some little child got a hold of the raft, and he pushed him in until a couple of lifeguards went out and pulled the parents in. The next thing we know, he had one of them TV shows interviewing him.
I pulled a little girl in because she went under first, and the man grabbed the lady and pulled her in. That's how it happened.
They asked me, how do you feel about your son being a hero? I said, he still has to take the garbage out in the morning.
My father is one of, if not the, most decorated New York City fireman in the history of the job. I got big feet, but I'll never fill his shoes. My brother is a New York City fireman also. John got called for New York City Police Department 4 times, turned it down. He wanted to be a New York City fireman, and that's what he did. My mother, she tells you, my son is a fireman, my other son is a police officer. She should be a saint for everything she's been put through.
I spent my career in Brooklyn, and Joe started his career in Brooklyn. And he started at 20 years old. And I remember his first tour in the 7-5 precinct. And I'll tell you, it was nothing as frightening as to see a 20-year-old boy, your son, standing on a known crime-infested street all by himself. And that was the start. My only fear is him getting hurt again. But, you got to trust in something. I trust in him. I trust in his fellow workers. I trust in his training. And I trust in God. And I go to sleep with that every night.
I have a family that doesn't need to know what I go through every day. And I just don't take it home. I try not to take it home. Yeah, things come home. Some things bother me and I'll go home. There's nothing I could do, but it's an understanding that your family and your relatives have to know. And they're pretty good with it.
Relax.
You're not calling a cop because you want them to have coffee with you. You're calling it because something happened. You prepare yourself for the worst, and then if it's going to hit the fan, then you're ready to act.
It's a DOA, some kind of victim to a burning, whether it was an aerosol can or another flammable liquid. He's burnt, but he's not burnt beyond recognition, and there's no burn marks around the grass. So my opinion is that it didn't happen right there.
My squad in general, I have an excellent sergeant, Mike Curtin. We have a good group of guys. We like to go out and work. We're driven. We like to say you don't like to paint everybody with the same broad brush because a few bad seeds doesn't make everybody bad.
He said it was an entry and no exit on the guy in the wrist. So that's what the round is. So the round's in him. Yep.
Anybody see anything? Anybody see anything? Anybody help us out? Anybody?
I was a patrolman in the 7-5. It's considered the murder capital of New York City. The motto was, you give us 22 minutes, we will give you a homicide.
Sarge, what we got going on here?
An EDP male, emotionally disturbed male, with a knife. A couple of kids outside of his door playing. This individual comes out with a knife and proceeds to stab one of the little boys in the chest. Witnesses stating that he took the knife after he stabbed the boy and licked the blood off the blade, and then ran back into his apartment and slammed the door.
It's always that 1% of an element that destroy a whole community. And that 1% is the person you deal with all the time. 99% are good people. I go to my kids' school once a year, and I wear my uniform, I bring my heavy vest, my helmet. Kids, you want them to start off young, saying, that's a police officer. He can come up to me and talk to me. He can come up to me and ask me a question. He can come up to me to get air in his tire.
What happened to the air? Just leaked out? Your homework? All A's and signs? You had a problem with English, right? Is that what you have a problem with? No. Math? What was the problem? I remember you having a problem with something.
Spelling.
I know you did good in science. Spelling it was. I know it was something. Be careful with the cars.
There's not that many people that could say, oh, I can't wait to go to work tomorrow. Get up at 4:30 in the morning, get dressed and go to work. What are you, nuts?
The apartment we're gonna hit is apartment number 2. It's supposed to be a quantity of crack cocaine and a 9mm pistol in the apartment.
ESU, the A-team is gonna do the entry. If you hear shots, do not leave your post.
My greatest fear on the job is not going home to my kids and family. I did a lot of things that I look back at I shouldn't have done, but I don't leave my house in a fight with my kids because I might not come home. I don't want that feeling that something happens to me and my kids saying, oh, I wish I didn't fight with Daddy before that happened. So I hug my kids, kiss them. If they're asleep, I'll just give them a kiss. Maybe they don't know I did it, but it's an inside thing I have to do.
I got a pee in the van already. All right.
We have heroes sitting in this audience today, like Lieutenant Broderick, D.I. Bonanno, a Combat Cross winner, Detective Grimaldi, another Combat Cross winner, and if you really want to talk about a hero, take a look at Joseph Viggiano. Back in 1989, on July 3rd, 2 police officers responding to a job of shots fired. The suspect drew a gun. He fired several shots. The bulletproof vest saved him from being dead. He went back to work. 5 years later, on August 3rd, 1994, now a detective. He was in Brooklyn looking for a murder suspect. The suspect came out of nowhere, fired, hitting the detective in the chest again. 2 incidents, shot 5 times, and Detective Joseph Viggiano is in this audience today being promoted. Joe, stand up. Take a look at Joseph Viggiano and the other people that sit in this room today. They are, in fact, just a few of the 55,000 heroes in the New York City Police Department, and don't you ever forget it. Thank you.
I can't believe it. I'm so proud of you, man. I'm really so proud of you.
Yeah, amazing, right? Oh, little chubby. Chubby, my foot. I was taking my daughter to the bus stop, and the phone's ringing. So I just picked it up real quick with my partner, and he said, a plane just crashed into the World Trade Center. He says, we're going into work.
There was an explosion at an airplane to the World Trade Center, Central.
Bobby Yeager called me at home from his house. We were both watching at the same time. The first plane had just hit the North Tower, and listen, we gotta go in.
I was just standing there shocked for a couple of seconds, and then I did what we normally do in emergency. You grab your stuff and you go out the door. You say your goodbyes and you go to work. I was very concerned about my friends. That's all I could think of. Who out of my friends are there? And I was very worried about them because I know who the first people are that's responding there.
Within, I don't know how many minutes, the phone rang, and it was Joe. Dad. Yeah, Joe, I saw it. So where are you? We're heading down to the Trade Center. Be careful, Joe.
When I pulled up, there was a man on the sidewalk who apparently had gotten struck by a piece of, it looked like a jet engine. We got him around the corner to awaiting EMS personnel, and we started to get our teams together to send him into the complex. And there was a massive explosion in the South Tower.
Oh my God!
Holy shit! That was the other building? That was the other building!
Wasn't even the same building.
When the second plane hit, we definitely knew what was going on at that point. We knew what was happening to our country.
This planned attack, Central. I want headquarters secured and any of the high security buildings evacuated.
And forth, that was to evacuate one police plaza, Gracie Mansion, and any potential target.
It had to be terrorists. So some people were getting geared up with heavy vests, helmets, machine guns, heavy weapons, and we were starting to put rescue teams together.
I remember looking around and seeing Tommy Langone, Mike Curtin, Joe Vigiano.
They had just put us all into teams, and myself and my partner Steven were just assigned from an interior entry team to fly to the roof on a helicopter and start doing rescues off of the roof.
I was assigned with Sergeant Mike Curtin. We were making our way through Tower Number 1, and we were assigned to Stairwell C to help evacuate the people.
We were maybe 30 seconds from being onto that roof. That's where we were headed.
We made it as far as the 9th floor of Tower Number 1. We heard this tremendous roar, which just got louder and louder. The building started to shake. The ceiling started coming down on us. The walls were cracking, all the lights went out.
All the helicopters had to leave the airspace due to the fact that the debris and the dust, had that gotten into the engines, they probably would have crashed.
We were being told over our radio that Building 2 had just come down. And being inside Building 1, we didn't realize the severity of it. We thought maybe a piece of it came down until somebody said, no, the whole building is down to the ground.
10 cops were inside that building, and the command center immediately radioed to the other 10 cops in the other building to get out, that there's a possible collapse situation.
Evacuate the building, Central. Pull out. All personnel, pull out.
And we were getting ready to leave, and Mike said, no, hold on, there's still more people coming down. We had gone back into the stairwell, and there were still hundreds of people coming down the staircase.
Everyone, we have numerous people falling out of the building at this time.
Aviation has a couple of people hanging off the windows about 5 floors from the top. You have about 50 people with their faces smashed against the window trying to breathe.
We just had 2 more bodies come down, Central.
We started to run across the plaza area from Building 1 to Building 6. As each one of us ran across in the open area, the group would look up, make sure it was safe for us to get to the other side. And we heard this tremendous rumbling again, which I described as a freight train coming at you.
Holy shit! Oh my God!
beautiful sunny day out turned to pitch blackness. It seemed a lot longer, but they were telling me it took the building only 8 seconds to come down.
It was like Armageddon. You can't believe the guys that you were with, that were so close to you, disappeared in an instant like that.
The first thing I thought of was, you know, Mike, Joe, and John. I'm like, oh my God, I know they're there. I know they're there. I was like, oh man, I just hope they're all right, you know? You hope that they get out, you know? The curse of spending your career in that type of world started to come home now, because that mental clock is ticking, and I know what's happening, and I know I have a son in harm's way. And to watch those buildings come down, I said, oh God, they're in there. I know it. There's something just telling me they're in there. The phone began to ring. Guys are calling me. You see what's going on? Yeah. Where are the boys? I said, well, I know Joe's there, and I know John's there. I don't know where, though. There's no communication. There's no way of even tracking them. And like everyone, you're riveted to a television, and you're watching this, and you don't know.
I knew that Joe would stay in that building until every person that he could possibly get out was out, until he knew that he'd done everything that he could possibly do. To get those people out of there. And I knew he would stay to the very end. I just knew it. I called him on his cell phone, and I heard an answer, heard a voice, a male voice, and I thought it was him, and for a second, I was so grateful. And it was an EMS worker who identified himself and said, I don't know whose phone this is, but the guy's wife just called me, and I told her I would drop it off at the precinct. And then I knew, then I just knew that something was wrong. Then I knew he was gone.
I can't believe there's 3,000 Americans in there. And I can't believe there's 350 firemen. And I can't believe there's 23 New York City cops. But I really can't believe there's 14 of my best friends in there.
I kind of beat myself up, you know, how come I'm here? And, you know, I'm lucky enough to have a wife that's understanding and tells me that you shouldn't feel guilty. But somewhat I do. I had this kid 34 years. I had his brother 36 years. No, they were together. They played ball together. They were Eagle Scouts. They got married 2 months apart. Every gray hair John gave me, Joe gave me. And ironically, here they are in the same place at the same time. It just didn't make sense. And then it did make sense.
Some gentleman interviewed me at one police plaza. I didn't even know what newspaper it was from. And he called the boys the Twin Towers. I said, wow, how fitting. I said, what?
Today, we come together to say goodbye, but we also come together to say thanks to Joe Vigiano. Joseph, James, and baby John, you were so lucky to have a dad like yours. On September the 1st, I had the privilege of baptizing little John here. And it was a beautiful day that day. It was a happy day. Then came September the 11th. It will be your job now to take care of each other, to take care of your mom. That's what your dad would want you to do.
Many families were affected by the attack on America, but this family was asked to bear really what's too much. And our prayers and our hearts go out to you. But every time we cry, I ask you to also feel pride about the strength of these men, because I know that if Joseph could stand here now, or any of them, they would tell you, don't be afraid, because we're not afraid. We are appropriately mournful. And we believe in who we are and what we are with a strength that will allow us to prevail, because we're right. And we couldn't have a better hero than Joseph and his brother and your fellow members of emergency services. They are entitled to a very, very special place in our history as true patriots.
My first day in Truck 2, Andy Bonadillo was new before me, and Joe Vidge had given Andy Bonadillo a 15-foot length of webbing and said, you might need this. Do you have it? Andy said, no. And Joe gave it right to him, said, hold on to it. You never know, you might need it. So in turn, my first day in Truck 2, Andy Bonadillo says, Joe Vidge gave me this 15-foot piece of webbing. He gave it to me my first day. You're the new guy, you don't have it either. So I'll give it to you and I'll pass it on. So I have it right in my pocket. And it says Vidge, in 15 feet, it's a yellow piece of webbing. And I bring this up because just last week, we had a guy jump in the Hudson River. And we were able to effect a rescue on him. And one of the ways was I grabbed my webbing, wrapped it around him, handed it up.
The one thing I told both boys when they were young in the force, especially when they were married, is no matter how much of a problem you have, whether mom restricted you or I told you you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, before you go to work, hug your mother, kiss your mother, kiss your father. When they got married, same thing. When you leave for work, even if you and your wife are arguing about, what to do for Sunday dinner, kiss her goodbye. Hug the kids, because you never know when you're coming home.
Thank you.